Today we're studying Liberty Fanfare by John Williams. John Williams was born in Queens, New York in 1932 and is a contemporary composer. Williams was raised in New York, the son of a percussionist in the CBS Radio Orchestra. He was introduced to music from a young age and began studying piano as a child, later learning trumpet, trombone, and clarinet. Williams briefly studied piano at the Juilliard School of Music and worked as a jazz pianist in New York City, both in clubs and for recordings. He created some of the most iconic film scores of all times. He scored more than 100 films, many of which were directed by Steven Spielberg. Have you heard of the movie E.T. or Jaws? Maybe you've heard of Jurassic Park, Star Wars, or Harry Potter? Those are some of the films that he has scored. About the music. Williams wrote Liberty Fanfare for the special ceremony honoring the 100th year anniversary of the Statue of Liberty in 1986. Written for orchestra, it was premiered by the Boston Pops with Williams himself conducting. A fanfare is a flourish of sound usually played by brass instruments. However, Liberty Fanfare is written for the full orchestra. The Statue of Liberty was presented to the United States by the people of France in 1886. Standing on the Liberty Island in New York Harbor, it welcomes visitors, immigrants, and returning Americans. The vocabulary for this lesson, please look for fanfare, a flourish of sound usually played by brass instruments. And then we'll be looking at dynamics, the volume of the music.
Liberty Fanfare by Williams.
I hope you enjoyed listening to the Liberty Fanfare by Williams. Right now, I'd like to talk about the form of this piece, or the structure, actually, the structure, how it's put together, and also the dynamics, the louds and softs of the music. So we have the structure of the piece is we have an introduction, we have an A section, a B section, a C section, and then the coda, or the tail. Remember, coda means tail, so that's at the end. The A section, we have is they're all red, and that's how you can tell them, and they have a giant letter A over them. You can see that the very first one has French horn playing. They'll have the same melody, and then he mixes it up with having the strings. Looks like a violin is going to play it the second time it comes around. And the third time he plays the A section, he has both the French horn and the violin. Now the B section of this piece, it looks like it appears twice, and it is the fanfare section. Remember, the fanfare is that very bright, loud, brassy sound, something to celebrate, and that's done with the, again, looks like the brass section there. The C section may be more mellow with the strings. It has some repeat signs in it, so you're going to see, even though he plays it, then it'll repeat again. It'll bounce back to the previous C with this repeat sign, and then bounce again right back. These other sections here are mostly just transitions to get you from each section. So just little melodic ideas. So that's the structure of this piece. He wrote 3 major melodic ideas and kind of just repeated them a few times in different orders. Dynamically, remember, we have these letters that you can see in each of the banners are telling you the louds and softs, how loud each one is played. FF stands for fortissimo, right? So we're going to start this piece with a blast, as loud as we can, fortissimo, very loud. And then we're going to pull back to piano, which is the softest, which is soft. Okay, and then we have these symbols here. This symbol is a decrescendo, right? So you're gonna start off louder, and then you're going to get quieter. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the transitional section here with this drum, and then it looks like a string instrument here. And then you have a crescendo in the coda. Crescendo goes from soft to quiet, and here we end with what looks like an exclamation point. All right, so that was structure and dynamics. Let's listen to this piece one more time today.
Liberty Fanfare by Williams.
Okay, and lastly, we're going to just review our vocabulary, our definitions that we covered in Liberty Fanfare. The brass family, brass instruments usually made of metal that are played by buzzing lips into a mouthpiece. Modern brass instruments have valves, slides, and keys for changing the pitch. Crescendo, we saw that in the coda, was to gradually get louder. Decrescendo, we saw that in one of those little transition pieces, means to gradually get quieter. And then the dynamics are the volume of music, the louds and softs. Fanfare, a flourish of sound, usually played by brass instruments. We had percussion family, percussion instruments, musical instruments that are struck, shaken, or scraped, may be pitched, like the xylophone, bells, timpani, or unpitched, like the snare drum, maracas, or slapsticks. String family, string instruments that have strings and are bowed, plucked, or strummed. The pitch is changed mostly with the fingers changing the length of the vibrating strings. And then our woodwind family, woodwinds, instruments, which were originally made of wood, played by blowing through a mouthpiece or across a hole. Modern woodwinds have many keys, buttons, or pads for changing the pitch. Thank you again. I hope you enjoyed this piece, and we'll listen to this same piece again tomorrow. Bye.